About the Zervos case, she's charged him with, sued him basically for defamation, and he has defamed her by, he said all these terrible about her. To win the case, he has to deny any contact with her, any of the things that she said is true, right?
Yeah, well, there are a couple different ways he could win. Oddly, his best chance of winning might be that he has defamed so many women that it's actually a little difficult to pinpoint when he's calling Summer Zervos or when he's calling Summer a liar versus calling other people a liar. But yes, Summer will have to show that what she said was true, that inappropriate contact with Donald Trump happened, and that when Donald Trump stood up and said repeatedly, these women are liars, that woman's a liar, when he said those things, he knew that was false. And he did it intentionally to harm.
Okay, in his defense, does he have to prove that he was telling the truth? That he didn't have an affair and he didn't have any encounter of that kind with her? He didn't try to harass her? He didn't try to do what she described him doing?
The burden's on the plaintiff, and he's the defendant, so the burden is on the plaintiff to prove that this happened. But a jury would get to hear a lot of information and a lot of facts to decide who's more credible.
Maya, we went through a number of these precedents. I mean, they're all a little different. Bill Clinton, with regard to Paula Jones, got into a situation where he lied eventually. We all know that. We all heard it on the tube. In that discovery with that case that ended up taking him into the Monica Lewinsky case. Do presidents have to face down in these depositions? Do they have to go in the box, if you will, and answer questions under oath while they're president? Do they have to? Is that established as a precedent now that he has to deal with Trump?
That has been established as a precedent, and that, in fact, that is what the judge in New York found in denying the motion to dismiss that was brought in Summer Zervos' case. She went straight to the Supreme Court case in the Paula Jones case and found that you are not immune from a civil suit when you are engaged in purely personal, private, unofficial conduct, and that you can be held to stand, for a trial in a civil suit, and that's exactly what has been found. His lawyers will appeal that. They will work their way, I'm sure, through the New York courts and maybe into the Supreme Court, which will push the timeline out for this. But I think that her opinion is on very solid ground, given the precedent in the Supreme Court decision in the Paula Jones case. Although the facts were somewhat different, it was federal court versus state court. The lower court judge has addressed that, and I think it'll hold up on appeal.
I do.
Rebecca agrees. Anyway, yesterday, Stormy Daniels tweeted about her case against the president, saying people do care that he lied about it, had me bullied, broke laws to cover it up, etc. And P.S., I am not going anywhere. Well, that's powerful. Her lawyer, Michael Avenatti, had this warning from Mr. Cohen, the president's lawyer, and the president himself. Let's watch.
Right now, we're playing three-dimensional chess, and these guys are playing tic-tac-toe, quite honestly. And they're not even playing tic-tac-toe that well. They have stepped into every trap we have laid in this case the last 2 weeks. It's remarkable.
Rebecca, we just met. I'll call you Rebecca, but excuse me. But, this guy, Avenatti, has struck me from the beginning as a killer. He loves television. He's good at it. He's saying, I got all these other women I'm going to bring in. I got all these cases coming to me. They're knocking on my door over the transom. It looks like this thing's going to grow. And his client, Stormy Daniels, say, I'm not going anywhere. Yeah. And she's a living person who knows how to make her case on television. And we're going to see it on 60 Minutes, a piece of this. It looks to me like Trump's up against Trump-likes that know how to do this. Well,
or better than the attorneys Trump hires. I mean, the agreement that Trump or Trump's agents had Stormy Daniels sign, it's not even spelled right. They didn't even spell disparagement right in the title. So why did they put a place for him to sign on this and then not have him sign? I mean, it seems to me either you don't put his name on it, you don't call him David Dennison, and then say you're not going to sign it, so you have an incomplete document that the other side can use at will to get out of it. The agreement is terrible. Yeah, it's a terribly sloppy agreement, frankly. And Stormy Daniels' attorney is right to be excited about this case. And I think what the Trump team must know is likely to happen here is the Band-Aid's going to get ripped off. Is eventually going to find out that these NDAs. Let's talk about that, Maya. When you put down a bill, even a contract that's signed, delivered, and signed by everybody, fine. But when it says if you mention one aspect of this
on some television show that nobody watched or something on a website, if you do it once, it's $1 million. If you do it in the second sentence, it's another $1 million. Then the third sentence is another $3 million. Isn't that so big a penalty box that it won't be enforced? I mean, I just wonder. Nobody has that kind of cash. Hardly anybody does. Certainly not some adult actress or whatever. Wouldn't that be thrown out by a judge? Say, this is ridiculous. $1 million for every time they burp any information about this thing?
Well, Chris, you've actually hit, you've hit on something.
Money.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've hit on something that actually her lawyer has raised, and she's raised in her case, which is the fairness of that liquidated damages provision, because basically she has, in exchange for $130,000, signed on to an agreement that subjects her to a penalty of $1 million for every time that she violates this. And of course, the president, in the notice of removal that they did to federal court, has already suggested that she has violated it at least 20 times, which would be $20 million. And so the question is that fair or is it unconscionable? And if it's unconscionable, it could be deemed invalid.
I can't see a regular jury of normal people agreeing to that kind of a payout. Anyway, thank you, Maya Harris and Rebecca LeGrand.